Hello, this is Rebecca Lang, and once again I'm going to be reading from my book, Floating Coffins. This time I'm going to be reading the first chapter. So, please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Chapter 1. The Beach. It's a lie! You know it's a lie! Red-faced, the youngest princess thrashed, scattering ash-blonde hair over her shoulders and kicking up clouds of dirt. Her small, bird-like body did little to halt the hard-faced men who gripped her by the arms and dragged her onto the beach. 3 coffins lay on the soft white sand. They were made of polished cedar, rounded at the bottom like boats and inlaid with silk and soft cushions. Palace guards holding blue banners waited near the lids with hammers and nails. "Don't do this to us! Please!" The youngest princess's voice rang like a bell, clear and sharp. No one moved to help her. The tall white cliffs of King's Isle formed a crescent moon shape that surrounded the beach and sheltered it from the public eye. Only the castle looked down from the craggy rocks, and the shadows of the sunset darkened its face. 2 more princesses stood arm in arm on the wet sand, like long candles in their shapeless white tunica gowns. Each wore a crossed necklace and a gold chain. The eldest princess's brow furrowed with concern at the sound of her crying sister, while the middle princess trembled. The king would not look at them. His head drooped, and his broad shoulders slumped, as if the weight of his finery were too much to bear. The king wore a gold dalmatica mantle over his tunica, with black pearls stitched onto the collar and the cuffs. A gem-encrusted belt circled his wide girth, but the scabbard was empty. The king wore no crown. His head was bald, except for a few tufts of brown hair behind his ears. The priest was bald, too. He wore a broad stripe of black cloth down the front of his tunica, and he had dark eyebrows and hard, dark eyes that narrowed at the sight of the youngest princess, who had not stopped fighting, even as the guards lugged her to the coffins. "We are innocent! You are condemning us to death!" "Enough!" the priest barked. "Your fate is already upon you. Face it with dignity." The princess stopped and drew up to her full height of not quite 5 feet tall. "You," she spat, "you slunk in after mother's death and took advantage of my father's grief. Now you plan to make him an accomplice to our murders." She turned to the palace guards. "Stop him! Please, I command you, don't let him kill us!" The guards shifted uncomfortably in their scale armor. Most of them had watched the youngest princess grow up. They hated to do this to her, but the hard-faced men who held her arms looked at the princess without pity. "Little girl, you understand nothing of the world," the priest said. "I have suffered through darkness and seen visions to make your blood run cold. I sat near a pool of starlight as an angel descended upon me and whispered a prophecy into my ear. She told me that one of you 3 princesses harbors dangerous magic." "It's a lie," the princess said, more weakly this time. "And one day that magic will overtake us all." The priest's voice rose like the waves. "Birds will fall from the sky, lambs will lie bloody in the fields, and babies will die in their mother's arms. The 7 Niles will sink into the sea." He put his hand to his throat. "To prevent this, we must cast the princesses out into the ocean. The guilty princess will sink, but the innocent ones will wash safely back to shore. So spoke the angel of starlight. So it shall pass." The priest's words hypnotized the beach. Everyone stared at him in awe. All but the youngest princess, her hands squeezed into fists. "None of this is true," she insisted. "You're a liar." "If your faith is so weak, perhaps your sisters will inspire you." The priest smiled at the 2 older princesses. "Who will be the first to enter a coffin?" Waves crashed. "I will." The eldest princess stepped forward. "Helene, no!" "Don't worry, little sister." Helene put a hand on the youngest princess's head. "Soon you'll step foot on dry land and feel the morning sun on your face." The eldest princess walked regally up to the coffin, her chin held high, her green eyes calm. Every now and then she would steal a glance at the young palace guard with sandy hair and blue eyes, who wore a dolphin clasp on his cape. He helped her into the coffin. When Helene nestled in the silk, her chestnut curls draped beautifully over her shoulders. The young guard took out a small golden ball, about the size of a nut, and placed it in the eldest princess's open palm. The smell of rosewater emanated from the orb. "Here's your pomander ball, my lady." Helene beamed at him. "Thank you, Lysander. Be safe, princess." 2 2 different guards put the lid over the coffin and hammered it shut. The youngest princess wailed as the guards dragged the coffin to the water's edge and gave it a push. The coffin floated into the open ocean. Helene. The youngest princess's face crumpled. I'll go next, the middle princess said. Don't do it, Ariadne! Ariadne moved like a corpse. All color had left her face, and her brown eyes were ringed with shadows. The middle princess gave her sister a stiff hug and murmured goodbye in a voice too low to hear. As Ariadne sank into the coffin, her dark hair wrapped her shoulders like a shroud. Princess, Lysander said formally. He handed her a crystal goblet with olive branches carved along the rim. Ariadne put the cup under her chin and squeezed the stem with her pale fingers. The guard lifted the lid over her face. As the second coffin drifted into the sea, the youngest princess withered like a flower. The priest nodded. Now for the last one. No! The youngest princess flailed. Someone stop them! Father! Father! The king shuddered and turned. His face was long and haggard, aged by sorrow beyond his years. His brown eyes melted to see his daughter. Tears flowed freely down his cheeks. My little Odell. The priest put a hand on the king's neck. No matter how hard this may be, you are doing what's best for your kingdom, for your family. He's lying! Father! Listen to her and you'll lose not one daughter but all 3. The priest's grip tightened. You must stay strong, Eustachius. The king's eyes dimmed. Bring her to the coffin. Father! Odell's screams pierced the hush of the beach. The hard-faced men threw the youngest princess into the coffin. She tried to climb out, but one man pinned her arms down. The other held her legs. Odell whipped her head back and forth and yelled in a raw, desperate voice, He's a liar! He's lying to you all! Put the lid on quickly, the priest said. Wait! Cried the princess. My token! I need my token! A wild animal has no need for comfort items, the priest said coldly. Please, Odell begged the young guard. Please? Lysander slipped her a knife. Be careful with this, he whispered. Odell clenched her teeth. The hard-faced men slammed down the lid. You did well, Eustachius, the priest told the king, giving him a pat. Your subjects will marvel at the wisdom of your actions. The king shut his eyes. His shoulders shook as sobs racked his body. The palace guards hauled the final coffin into the ocean, and the greedy waves lapped up the offering. A seagull flitted above a floating coffin, squawked, and flew to its home in the cliffs. As the sun set, the first of the stars twinkled in the sky. Except for the sigh of waves, the beach was silent. So, I hope you liked the first chapter. I did, because it was very dramatic, and I like dramatic things. This was actually the first thing that came into my head when I thought the story up. I was lying in bed trying to tell myself a story to go to sleep, and this is what popped into my head, and I just imagined these 3 princesses getting sent into the ocean in these coffins, and I thought, well, who are these princesses, and how did they escape, and why on earth are they in coffins in the first place? And I wanted to know, so I had to write the story to find out. I hoped when I started it that it would be a short story, but 348 pages later, it's not short, but it's a good story, I hope. So that's a little bit of insight into this story, and as you read on, you'll get to know more about the princesses and how they escape, because they do escape. I'm not going to kill them all 3 off. And it's mostly the youngest princess's story, but the other 2 princesses definitely play a role as well. So as with the prologue, I'm reading this to promote a deal that is going on with my book, 3 Floating Coffins. On Amazon, you can get the Kindle version for 99 cents this Friday, August 24th, 2018. And then on Saturday, it goes up to $1.99, Sunday $2.99, and Monday it goes back to its original price of $3.99. So I'm hoping people will buy it and review it, because I really need reviews, and enjoy it. I was wondering also if you wanted me to read more of these chapters. I can't read the whole book because there are 43 chapters and it would just take forever. Plus, I kind of want you to buy it. But if you'd like me to read a little bit more, let me know and I'll see what I can do. All right, well, thank you for listening and have a nice day. Goodbye.